game?
Totally, yeah, we're really into them, desperately into them. We actually, we take them on tour buses, take video games on tour buses with us. We're going to, when we go to America, we'll buy the American versions and all the American cards and Transformers from this country. Yeah, we're into it.
And what about this game that we can see behind us? I think someone's going to be sick very shortly.
This is the vomit-inducing 360-degree G-Lock, which I've experienced myself for the first time actually about 2 years ago in Tokyo. It's vile. You spend most of your time upside down and like you just keep your fingers on the fire button and hope that it stops within the next 2 minutes before you're ill.
Forget it. I don't think I'll try that one. Mike, you've chosen quite a lot of the music we're going to play on tonight's Postmodern. The first one is Depeche Mode's I Feel You off their current album. And this was quite a shock when it was released, I think. The archetypal synth band finds rock and roll, but it's not a million miles away from your kind of musical vision.
Well, yeah, it's the idea that you can take elements from dance music and make rock music interesting with it. That's why I think Depeche Mode are one of the greatest examples of that. Not only because they've been extremely successful around the world, but also like highly influential on loads of like techno musicians, and people like LFO will credit Depeche Mode as being a big influence. So that they've managed to like sort of combine both the rock music, dance music, commercial success and a lot of credibility, which is why when someone referred to us, when they were doing a review of this album, referred to us as Depeche Zeppelin, I was very happy about that.
Okay, well let's see this. This is the latest one from Depeche Mode, I Feel You. Oh my god. I don't even know what I'm doing here, Mike.
Rescue people. Well, that's very good. You rescue them. They're all coming along and saying thank you, do you?
Oh no, so what are you up to?
Well, I've just completed a first mission. I've shot down loads of stuff. And there's some sort of emergency going on here.
Oh my god. Now listen, I'm very pleased that you've managed to choose some of the music we're playing tonight on Postmodern. We've got Sunscreen coming up, who've just supported you on your UK tour?
Yeah, that's right. They were absolutely brilliant. The first night they came on stage, I was watching them thinking, I don't want to go on play after this lot. I want to go home and write the next album instead. For me, they're a perfect example of the way that I think music's going to go. In that, you know, this is a band playing live on stage, and you can't tell the difference between. They're like a rock band, but it's dance music that's coming out. That's the way it's going to go, I reckon.
Because there was some doubt in some of the reviews that I've read about Sunscreen that they could actually cut it live.
Oh, yeah, no, they were brilliant live. They were a really good live band. One of the best that we've had supporting us.
They seem to have got themselves into the sort of the indie bracket, which is something that you guys missed altogether.
Yeah, that doesn't really bother me. I mean, all the sort of categorizations are just, you know, for people who want them. I'm not interested in categorizations. However people take it, it's fine by me.
We're going to take a look now at Sunscreen and Pressure. We're taking a look at a selection of Mike's favourite tunes, and I must admit I was surprised that Tom Waits cropped up. Is he in your record collection?
Yeah, I've got loads of Tom Waits albums. I really like Tom Waits. I like his singing, but that's a sort of small point. What I really like about him is the fact that it's out of the ordinary as far as rock music goes. You know, it's something very different. There's a lot of imagination there, and particularly the song we're about to show. This is a wonderful idea of someone taking on a sort of a mentality, almost like a sort of actor, looking at a subject in a very unusual way. And there's just the imagination, sort of, I suppose not so much the perversity, but just the attempt to do something different, to be interesting, to be a colourful character, you know, which he does so well. I love him for it.
Yeah, we all do. This is Tom Waits and I Don't Want to Grow Up. We've reached the Asian ragga section of tonight's Postmodern with Apache Indian. How are you doing on your...
I'm about to crash.
I've just run over a whole lot of cheerleaders. Now, Apache Indian, can you tell us a little bit about this guy?
Yeah, well, I don't know too much about him. I mean, for me, it just seems that ragga is becoming like the predominant form of pop music. That's what pop music is all about at the moment, which I'm all up for. It's the sort of music I really like. Also, I think it says a lot about the way Britain really is at the moment. I mean, there's too much sort of emphasis on like sort of white middle-class rock music, which is becoming a bit of a sort of minority interest. You know, it's stuff like ragga. I mean, like Shaggy selling 500,000 singles or whatever. This is what pop music is about. And I think someone like Apache Indian, who also makes great records, is saying more to us about, you know, about the state of things at the moment, the state of music at the moment, than someone like Morrissey or, you know, any of these sort of like plagiarists.
Arranged Marriage could almost have been like the novelty hit of the year too, even though it's quite sensitive and, you know, telling lyrics.
Yeah, I think it's a lot deeper than that. You know, I think it's because it's reflective of a sort of cultural background. rather than being. I mean, we might perceive it as that because it's unusual for us, but I don't think it's unusual for like Indian English people.
Okay, let's take a look at this. It's Arranged Marriage from Apache Indian off the album No Reservations. Section of tonight's Postmodern. It's now time to take a look at the Irish-American rap tip with House of Pain and Jump Around, which is our guest on the show, Mike Edwards' choice. Now, what is it about this song that you so much like?
It's a great piece of rap music. It's like a supreme example of the form. It's just whatever that loop is. It's like I've never heard that loop before. You know, it's just such an uplifting thing about it. It's so catchy, so infectious. It's classic pop music, but at the same time it has that edge because they look dead hard in it, and you hear all these stories about, you know, like the main rapper being like stopped in JFK airport for having a gun in his luggage and this sort of stuff. You know, it's like it really seems like they are the real thing. You know.
And the video is really interesting as well. You had a story you were telling me earlier about there being problems with it.
Yeah, I hear through a friend who's a friend of the director that he's being sued by the New York City Police Department because they're not very keen on sort of, you know, like, videos going out on MTV showing the police, you know, beating members of the public up.
Because of course that doesn't happen, does it? You know, very rarely. This is House of Pain and Jump Around.
The House of Pain.
To the second hour of tonight's Postmodern, taking a break from the video machines, the video games. I'm talking to Mike Edwards from Jesus Jones, and we're going to see your current single, Right Decision. Now, there's a line in that I wanted to ask you about being successful. When you become successful, you become the thing that you detest.
Yeah.
What's this all about?
The problem with success is you become what you detest. That's
Yeah.
the line, yeah. Most people sort of say, well, did this happen to you? I don't think so. I'm probably the wrong person to ask anyway, but I was sort of fairly cynical about fame and stardom anyway. For me, it's really a reflection, I think, more on politicians. In that you get these people who start out wanting to change the world, and because of the sort of compromises and hypocrisies that are involved in life, end up being unable to change very little or able to change very little. It isn't just politics, there are many things. I think a lot of charities, for example, find themselves in difficult situations in that they aim to solve a problem and actually become part of the problem along the way. Not that I'm knocking charities at all, but you know, it's really what it's trying to say is there are so many little things, little twists and turns in life that there is no such thing as a right decision. There is no obvious unfaltering path forwards.
But it's something that we can't actually make good in this lifetime then, is it? Is it just going to be a problem with whatever we do? You're never actually going to get it right.
Yeah, that's it. So you may as well just enjoy life because and have faith in yourself. I think that's what the song's saying, because everything else, and even yourself actually, you know, you will be let down.
I wanted to ask you, it's the second single off the album Perverse, and people have talked a lot about the way this album was put together. It's almost like, it seems, looking at the credits, like a Mike Edwards production, and it was recorded in a short space of time. Not as short, I understand, as Doubt, no. But how did you get all this together?
Well, it was, I've got a little home studio at home, just behind my bedroom. But one of the important things about this album was for us to make it in the sort of way that a techno musician would make an album, to use lots of technology, but to make a rock album. Now, basically what that meant is we had all our samplers, drum machines, and also the sort of computer software, like to run sequencing program, that sort of stuff. Basically what it meant is, rather than recording onto tape, you know, setting up amplifiers in a corner and playing really loud, we just used sample guitar sounds and recorded everything onto floppy disk. When I came to produce the album with a producer, I just took along, you know, my voice on a whole heap of floppy disks and said, you know, this is our album, let's go ahead and record it.
With the amount of technology that goes into it then, how difficult is it for someone like yourself, who's obviously a songwriter as well, to get in here the soul actually onto record? I mean,
it's no difficulty at all. I mean, the whole point of it is the fact that we're using a different recording medium. We're playing onto floppy disk rather than tape. We're still playing though. It's still human beings making decisions, making choices, making sort of creative judgments on what they do, and at the end using a certain amount of playing technique to play things in. The use of machinery in popular music no more makes it emotionless than the sort of animations you have on MTV are humorless or emotionless, or those animations on I don't know, Beauty and the Beast, for example, or people who sit and write books with word processors. These are basically, like, the technology is just an instrument. It's not important. It's the end result is the really important thing.
So how do you answer your critics who say that it can tend to be a little bit cold and unfeeling?
If it is cold, that's because of the way that I write songs, and whether I was using sort of didgeridoos and acoustic guitars, it would sound cold. You know, the machinery doesn't make that the case. Machinery's come a lot further since the days of Kraftwerk, when perhaps that was true, and you know, I think Kraftwerk sort of reveled in the idea of cold music.
Okay, we're going to take a look at the current single, Right Decision. Can you tell us a little bit about the video and how this came about?
Well, the video, I think, is fairly obviously based on a very popular film amongst the band, and also with our director, Zana. She absolutely loved Reservoir Dogs. I think the idea of the idea of constant motion. We must have walked about 300 miles for this video. All we did was walk the whole day. But it's also the idea of, you know, that from Reservoir Dogs that you get of a boys' gang, a sort of a bunch of men together. And a lot of rock bands are like that. Obviously, with like 5 men in the band, we're pretty similar to that.
Okay. Reservoir Dogs meets Jesus Jones. This is the right decision. We're getting more deeply into Jesus Jones now, and coming up we're going to take a look at the first single release off the latest album, Perverse. It was The Devil You Know, which, contrary to what a lot of people thought, is not a Kylie Minogue cover. It is in fact a whole mixture of techno beats, and there's sitar in there and instrumentals as well. Can you give us a clue as to what this is all about?
Yeah, I suppose it really just reflects the sort of stuff that I listen to. I mean, you were saying earlier about, you know, the videos that I chose, I mean, you know, that it was an eclectic mix. It's not really the way I see it. I mean, I don't sort of try and pick videos or pick instrumentation for songs because it's eclectic. So that's just what I'm listening to. I mean, just as likely to listen to a load of stuff from the Middle East as I am to listen to something like real hardcore techno. For me, you know, it's all good music. And I think also one of the main aims about Jesus Jones has been trying to get the idea of eclecticism going. I've always thought that like purity was the death of rock music. You know, I mean, it's always been about mixing different ideas together. That's when all the great things in music have happened, having new and unusual influences come in. And so I'm just, in a way, reflecting the things that I'm interested in, the things that I like, in the hope that I'll make interesting music.
Well, it certainly is that. The one thing that listening to this album, which is Perverse, the third album, is that you haven't given up on house music, it seems to me. I'm just wondering if you still go out to clubs and get inspiration that way.
More so than ever before, I'd say. We're sort of immersing ourselves, or becoming immersed deeper and deeper within like sort of progressive dance music, specifically techno. I mean, the number of people, you know, there are like techno stations in London, techno DJs, or like give us a shout out on the air and stuff like that. And I think that's going to be it's going to reflect more and more in what we do. I think specifically because the reason we're being immersed in all this music is because it's very creative. There's exciting things happening. There's interesting minds making this music. And I think if the best that rock music can give us is like fairly tired retreads of the 70s, then, you know, I think it's only natural that we're going to head much more towards like a sort of hardcore dance thing. You know, done the Jesus Jones way, of course, which will be the Perverse way, I hope. But you know, that's yeah, absolutely. Rock music, it's too boring now, really.
So would you ever give up on rock music completely? Because you do, I mean, there are rock songs on the album.
Yeah. Well, Perverse is meant to be an out-and-out rock album. Yeah, there's the technology and everything comes from dance music, the attitude it's made with. But nonetheless, I mean, we've been going around the world saying, well, you know, rock music's not very interesting, blah, blah, blah. And you knew that someone was going to turn around and say to us, you know, so what are you going to do about it? And Perverse is our answer. It's a 90s rock album, that's the idea, rather than the 70s one. But I don't know, it just seems to me that the people listening to, making rock music, commenting on it, and to a smaller extent the people listening to it, aren't really interested in anything new. And it's just creatively very stifling to be interested in an art form that's so rooted in revivalism, in retrogressiveness. So that dance music seems to be like the only way, the most, I think, creatively satisfying, the most exciting sort of form of music to be involved with.
Okay, well, this is the first single that Jesus Jones released off their third album, Perverse, and it's The Devil You Know. So, right back, just about, I think, to the beginning now with Jesus Jones, 1988-89, and your first single, Info Freako. What do you think now when you look back? I mean, it's only 4 years ago, but do you look back and think, that was okay, or...
The song was pretty good, and the video was okay, you know, for its time. It is one of, like most of our videos, I can only watch it through sort of like, you know, with hands over my face, through like little gaps in my fingers. Generally, I think if we get the rest of the band together and we all sit and watch these videos, it's one of the funniest experiences ever because we're all just taking the mickey out of it. We've been making sarcastic comments about people's hairstyles or whatever. It's something we have a lot of reverence for. I mean, Info Freako was a song that really got us launched in Britain, which set us up for everywhere else in the world. But it's the same with anybody, you know. If anyone looks at old snapshots of themselves from 4 years ago, there's some things that give you sort of fond memories and some things you're acutely embarrassed by. It's the same for us.
I mean, it seems an amazing story that, you know, 125 pounds and your first demo should have been released as a single, and that should be... I mean, is it possible to do that now?
More so, given that the technology for making dance music actually makes really good sounding records. It puts it within the range of people who don't have access to a lot of really expensive equipment. If you want the greatest drum sound you've ever heard on record, sample a drum sound, you know. I mean, that's what we did. The reason Info Freako sounds good as a very cheap demo is because we use so much sampling. It's the use of technology, as it always has done with throughout mankind's history. It's made the standard of living, it's made things easier.
How far do you think you've come? How do you think your music has matured over the 4 years since Info Freako?
That's the one question that stumps me. I don't know. I mean, I think you can probably only really talk about it mostly in boring things like, well, the songs are better, the songwriting's better, and I think the main thing, though, is the fact that because we're very interested in the contemporary, what's happening now influences us more than anything else. I think you can see sort of strong changes and stuff. We were much more interested in rap music in '88 than we are now. These days, it's much more of an influence from like sort of techno stuff. Around about Doubt Time, it was all the sort of shuffle beats and like sort of sped up hip hop that was beginning to make its way into house music. And like, you know, the next album, I hope as well, will show just like that sort of fascination that we have for what's happening about us at the time. I think Jesus Jones music dates very quickly, thankfully, because it has that sort of pop sensibility about it, you know, that, you know, what's going on right here, right now, effectively. That's our attitude, not just a song title.
Did you ever have any doubts about what you're doing?
Yeah, frequently. Yeah, most of the time. I think it's actually that spurs me to change styles, you know, to try and do something a little bit different each time, to try and improve. Because if I was completely satisfied with everything, if it didn't give me any reason to doubt, then we'd still be making songs that sounded like Info Freako.
Well, let's take a look at it. This is Jesus Jones right at the beginning, Info Freako. Jesus Jones with the release of the single Real, 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 which was actually released a full year before I think the album Doubt came out, and Doubt of course was a huge success for you guys. I think it went straight into #1 in the UK, and it was top of the alternate charts in the States. Were you prepared for this success?
Yes and no. I think, you know, been doing the sort of struggling musician bit in London for years beforehand, and been used to being rejected by promoters, by record companies, that sort of thing. You do develop this very sort of tough shell, this attitude that I will be successful whatever, and it will happen, and everyone else who rejects me is wrong. So that when it did happen, you think, yeah, that's right, yeah, we expected that. But at the same time, you do sort of, the more human part of you sort of stands back and thinks, hang on, you know, this is really weird. It's actually happened to me and this other bunch of sort of useless reprobates, or this other bunch of sort of, you know, when you know people so well, it's very difficult for me to look at Alan or Ian or Jerry or Jen, anyone in the band, and for them to look at me and sort of think, people think we're famous, that we're interesting stars or something. It's very strange.
I was reading in an interview that you did that you actually believe in the idea of pop stars. Is this still something that hangs true with you?
Not anymore. I think, you know, the time of pop stars is really dying. The idea of stars as a whole is dying. That's because the need for sort of fantasy is changing. These days, I mean, it's this nice little thing, all of the sort of video machines behind us. Many people have an opportunity, have experienced worlds in which they are the stars, where they influence what happens. They can be specialised in something. They're told that they have talents. They show by, I don't know, like winning at Street Fighter constantly, you know, that they are good. And it's because it's an interactive thing, people are involved in it without themselves. It does, as an experience, I think, beat the passive idolisation of someone else. And just touring it seems to me that, you know, there's less and less sort of interest in rock stars. People really don't believe in stars as much anymore. And I think it's partly because they're constantly being told that they themselves are stars. I think that's much healthier, really.
Do you really think that's true, though? I mean, you're, as the front person extraordinaire of Jesus Jones, you're the man out there who people associate with the band, and I mean, I would say that you're a star. I mean, you know, people still look look to people like yourself and think, you know, he's doing that, he's part of a band, and you know, it's an idolization. So how do you deal with that?
I mean, I find it strange. Yes, I mean, the stars still exist. You know, people like Madonna or Prince or whatever. You know, these people are huge stars. They are icons. But I think that's dying out. You know, there are less of them, and I think that you know, those that are there aren't particularly good. But how? I don't know. It does. The way I deal with it is I don't really notice it much, to be quite honest. You know, I do the things I want to do, and nothing really. I don't let anything get in the way of that.
So do you think that pop stars, in inverted commas, should behave like pop stars?
No, because I think pop star behaviour is such a rigidly defined thing that it almost sort of contradicts what the way that pop stars are supposed to be: free-thinking, rebellious. You know, there's a sort of a desire for people to conform to sort of standard idiot pop star behaviour, which I'm totally against. You know, it seems to actually lack any individuality, any sort of idea of self-expression. That, you know, you have to be this sort of self-destructive sort of cartoon, you know, who sort of throws things out of hotel windows and eventually dies of a drug overdose. I mean, it's all so pathetic, really, and it doesn't allow any room for you to be yourself.
Okay, well, we're going to take a look now at pop stars. Jesus Jones. This has taken off the #1 selling album in the UK. It did very well in the States as well. The album is Doubt, the second album, and the single is Real, Real, Real. Right here, right now, we're going to take a look at the final video on tonight's show from Jesus Jones, which is, of course, right here, right now. Would it be fair to say that this was the single that broke you in the States?
Yeah, definitely. It was the one that sort of gradually wormed its way right up to the top of the chart over about 6 months. Yeah, it was the one that I think, because it was successful in America, sort of helped us all over the world. You know, I think our sales in Sweden, for example, quadrupled as soon as we had a #1 in America. In New Zealand, Australia, Japan, you know, people noticed it. Which in a way I thought was quite sad, the fact that the whole world has to wait until something's a hit in America before they react in any way here.
I think it's just the way that it is. But I was wondering for you guys how important success in the States was. I mean, obviously in record sales around the world, but just on a personal level, did you want to break the States?
Very much so, for a couple of reasons. First of all, because it is the cultural home. It is the heart of sort of, or decreasingly so, the heart of sort of modern culture. And all of our influences were either American or totally dominated by America. Anyhow, I mean, all the sort of rap stuff, all that house music, even a sort of American guitar band to influence us when we started out. All comes from that side. I think also it's a fabulous place to visit, to go and see. It has a sort of mythology about it for people who don't come from America, and even for a lot who do. But to sort of, you know, be in a tour bus and drive through the Arizona desert is a dream come true in a way. Yeah, it was great.
I wanted to ask you, you're going to be on tour in the States very shortly. What size venues are you going to be playing this time round? Are you sort of moved up from when Doubt was released?
I should think, you know, it'll be pretty much the same sort of thing, given that, you know, it's been 2 years since we've been out there and a lot's changed and everything. I think we're being cautious about it. It's generally like sort of 2,000 to 6,000 seaters, sort of pretty much everywhere.
And Sunscream played support for you here. Who have you got in the States?
We've got the Stereo MCs. It's been the year of the excellent support band, as far as I'm concerned. Like sort of 5 weeks with the Stereo MCs. They did a gig with us in London actually in '89. So I've met them around the place beforehand. Even some talk of them doing a remix for us. But you know, so I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be one of those tours where you spend like pretty much every night, spending all night at the venue. You know.
Sounds great to me. We should go to the States. This is Jesus Jones' anthem now, I guess, right here, right now. Postmodern, I've got to say goodbye to Mike and wish you all the best for your American tour. And can we hope to see you back in Europe at any stage this year?
Yeah, definitely. We're going to be doing a lot of the festivals around summer. So I think we'll be doing Reading in England, but we're going to do stuff in France, in Germany, Sweden, Switzerland, Holland, Belgium. We're going to be all over the place around the summer. So yeah, look out for us.
We certainly will do that. And it's good night from him and good night from me.